Good morning. It's Saturday, May the 10th, 2014, and this is Trevor, and I'm coming to you from my home just before I head out the door for a busy day at work at Elemental Book and Curiosity Shop, the location that I read at primarily here in Winnipeg. It's time for our weekly card of the week. We started this about 2 weeks ago, and I'm working with the Rider-Waite deck, and I'm shuffling the cards. All I've done is I've put aside the cards that we've covered already, so the remainder of the deck is being shuffled. And I'm not rehearsing this. This is right off the top of my head. So let's see what our card of the week is. And it is, oh my, it's the Seven of Pentacles. Okay. And Pentacles have a lot to do with the earth element. There's 4 elements that are running through tarot: earth, water, fire, and air. And as a reader, you learn to make associations to those elements. And tarot is my preferred system to work with, along with what I receive intuitively, because I have the opportunity to tie the tarot symbolism into both what I'm picking up intuitively, as well as the thousands and thousands of associations that this system works with in terms of other people's interpretation and the related systems that went into the creation of tarot. One of those things, of course, is astrology, and in that we also see those 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and air. And that comes up culturally the world over, that these are seen as the basic kind of building blocks of our consciousness and of our lives. So from sort of just a fortune teller kind of interpretation, we would see that as our love life, our work life, our money and resources, and our battles. But on an inner level, to a more esoteric reader, and I think that's kind of the category I fall into, these have to do with aspects of our consciousness. So the emotional side of things has to do with our compassion, our feeling awareness. The air element would have to do with our mental, kind of more analytical side of things, how we articulate, how we deal with conflict. And wands, or fire, there's these different associations that go on, would have to do with constructiveness, the sense of doing. And pentacles, as is the case here, are that earth element. So it would partly have to do with our money and our resources, but it would also have to do with our sense of what has worth and has value. And that's not just measured in material terms. You know, you think of what is worthwhile. You know, looking around my home, you know, it's like I had to make a move in the last 2 years where it was time to pare down a little bit. So it was really about kind of saying what's essential, what's necessary, and what expresses who I am. So sevens also have a meaning or an association in common. Part of why tarot works is that there's these relationships between the symbols, relationships between the numbers, and we see these things kind of coming up again and again. And in a good tarot deck, and I think the Rider-Waite is one of the good tarot decks, these things make sense. They're kind of congruent. So all of the sevens will have something in common. And 7, you know, we oftentimes hear about lucky sevens and 7 being associated with chance. Sevens oftentimes have to do with the actions that we're taking where we might not be sure of the result. Right? There's not a clear-cut good, bad that we're having to work with there. So there's very much a sense of lesson. I don't tend to talk about luck a great deal. It's not something that ties into what I do. There's a sense of accountability that has to go on. So let's look further at the 7 of Pentacles. We see this figure who's in a garden, and he's leaning on a rake, and he's looking at one sort of plant that's growing and thriving, and another that's just poking along. So sometimes this can have to do with a feeling of getting by in terms of our resources. It can have to do with a sense of looking at where there's immediate profit, but some things that are kind of struggling. And I think it kind of comes back to mindfulness, that sometimes we have to look at what's coming up in the garden of our endeavors, and we have to sort of pay attention to what's maybe helping things to grow and thrive, and what may be in an area of struggle. I like the fact that there's an association in that 7 number to the idea of letting something lay fallow. You know, it used to be, and I think it still is customary, that when you are farming in agriculture, there's a certain period of time where you have to let the ground rest. You know, you're not going to be planting every year, every year, every year. It really ruins the environment. And it's something we're learning. It's something we're learning the hard way right now about how we've been maybe pushing that environment a great deal. And we have to sometimes let the battery recharge, let the water refill the well, let the ground heal. So we have to sometimes say, is the immediate profit worth it if it's going to be robbing us later on? And that kind of comes back to the Seven of Pentacles, you know, that we have to sort of say, okay, maybe I've got something thriving here, but am I looking after what has to be growing next? You know, it's like in a business, you might be seeing a surge of activity, but is it sustainable? Are you prepared to be offering this in a consistent way? So the Seven of Pentacles is where we're going to be doing some mindful thinking and having to be really aware of that. If you've had 3 slow months and suddenly you have 2 busy weeks, that's where you have to kind of cover what has been in that low, right? And sevens sometimes challenge our ideas of entitlement. So often, you know, I think we get in our part of the world a funny kind of idea that karma is like Santa Claus. Just because we've had a hard period doesn't mean we're automatically entitled to a period where things are going to be, you know, suddenly abundant. It may be that we're getting lessons that are putting us on sort of an energetic budget, that are making us say, here is the new reality, here is the new norm. So those are just some random thoughts around the Seven of Pentacles. Of course, there's so much more that's associated in terms of the tarot interpretation and the many authors and scholars that have contributed to the knowledge around that card. One of the things I often suggest is to check out the site Eclectic Tarot, A-E-C-L-E-C-T-I-C, tarot.com, because that has a compendium of many different artist interpretations and many scholarly articles and resources that tie into tarot as a subject. And of course, you can find that link on my website at trevorsense.com, and that also contains lots of information about my work, both here in Winnipeg, and also the new feature that I've been offering in the last little while for some of my distant clients who moved away. I am now available, excuse me, over Skype. And there's lots of information about that. So I'm going to wrap this up now. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and to all the moms out there, I want to say a big thank you. I'm looking forward to spending the day with my mom, and I hope everybody's enjoying the brilliant sunshine. Take care. Bye for now.